Ladies and gentlemen, something absolutely shocking occurred in the chess world today, and that is the purpose of today's video. Now, if you've been following the Tata Steel chess tournament, we are about at the halfway point of that, with Magnus Carlsen participating among other great players. Last round, Magnus Carlsen lost the game, which does happen in his career. He lost that game to Anish Giri. That was his first loss in a long game against Anish Giri in 12 years. And in this game, well, I don't want to spoil a huge amount, but I'm going to share it with you. This video will have a few games of the round. They are all absolutely bonkers, but I would like to make a deal with all of you. I'm actually going to show you the Magnus Carlsen game first, because that is why you probably clicked on this video. I'm not going to beat around the bush, but I would like to propose a trade. I'm not going to sit here and make the Magnus game at the end, so you got to watch and increase the watch time and maybe watch an ad or two, but the exchange that I would like to offer you in return for showing you this Magnus game first is the fact that you check out my brand new middle games course. Now, I know what you're going to say, oh, it's an ad read. No. There is a free sample. I want you to get the free chapter. You see this right here where my cursor is? I want you to check that out if you haven't already. Seriously, it's going to change your chess for the better. That's the trade I propose. You get something for free, and now you get this video as well. That's all. Link will be in the description. Now, Magnus began this game with the move c4. All right? His opponent is Nodirbek Abdusaturov. Now, if you haven't heard his name, you better get used to hearing it, because he's leading the tournament right now at the time of this game. He's also the former World Rapid Champion, which Magnus just took away from him. And Magnus in this game played like this, and Nodirbek played e5. Now, in this position, there is a very sharp line. And I don't mean like knife sharp, but I do mean like chess sharp, which is when very critical things happen to a position. Both sides have to be extremely well prepared. Like black can go e4 and white can go d5, and then the knights fall off the board. It's like very, very intense. But in the game, Magnus played bishop e2, which is a move. It's a little bit, more kind of restrained. Nodirbek played d5. We have takes, castles, bishop e7. And actually, this position has been reached before, and Magnus has himself played the move bishop b5. He played that game in the World Championship of Blitz in Riyadh in, I believe that's Saudi Arabia, in 2017. He played it against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. No, I did not remember that off the top of my head. I saw that in the database when I was preparing for this recap. Rap God. Bishop b5. We have knight c3, bc3, and queen c7. Now Magnus plays d4. Now, I saw this position right around when I woke up, and I was like, oh, Magnus has got exactly what he wants. He's got a position where neither player really is familiar, which generally the advantage will always go to Magnus. And he's got a position that's very complicated. So black took on d4, and then took on d4 again, and gave Magnus the knight in the center, and then played like this. It's a very weird and kind of passive position. Right? Like for black, the pieces are all sort of standing around. Now, Magnus could kind of try to rush in here and trade a few things. He can keep the tension. He decides to back up, and his opponent attacks his rook. Okay? And Magnus can, of course, first of all, he can go back, but that's dumb. He can move his rook out of the way. All right? Rook b1. Simple. Rook b1, rook b1. But Magnus has been seeing the TikToks, and he's been seeing the YouTube shorts. He knows destiny calls, and so he plays the move bishop a3. The move bishop a3, yes, indeed, does sacrifice the rook. Now, I'm not going to yell it. I'm not going to yell it this time, because I want to urge us not to lose this meme. This is really a great meme, and I don't want us to just scream the rook all the time, and, then the juice runs out of the fruit, and nobody really wants to say the rook anymore. So he sacrifices his rook. He didn't need to do that. This is a pretty big risk. And Magnus's idea is basically that he has very, very powerful bishops, and he is forcing Nodirbek to go this way. But at the end of the day, he is handing him a rook for a bishop. Rooks are endgame pieces. The more pieces that come off the board, the more effective a rook is going to be. So Magnus plays rook c1, and now it looks beautiful. I mean, his position just looks completely spectacular. Nodirbek moves his king out of the center, and now Magnus takes on g7. Again, I saw this position right around here. I had just gotten out of the shower. I don't know why you need updates about my day or, the status of clothing on my body, but, queen takes g7 was played, and then I went, then he went back to b2, and I kind of looked at this position, was like, Magnus is down material, but he'll figure it out. But then Nodirbek went here, and then Nodirbek utilized his rook, which is his entire advantage, and traded material. Now, Nodirbek is just cleanly up material. He just has more of it. All right, Magnus comes back, Now Nordjrbek says, okay, well, you know, my rook is really powerful. I mean, you gave me the only rook on the board. And, you know, Magnus centralizes and moves his queen over here and tries to attack the pawn. And Nordjrbek's like, sure, take my pawn on h7. I will take the pawn on a2. This is a fascinatingly complex position. All right? Nordjrbek, by the way, decided not to take on a2. He played bishop c4 instead. He could have taken on a2. And it's like black has two passed pawns. Just can zoom down the board. White also has a 4-on-1. I've never seen something like this. Two sides of the board completely decimated. I mean, Magnus is taking some massive amount of risk here. He could have just played rook b1. Okay. But we have bishop c4. And Magnus goes here. Now we have take. And the more pieces that come off the board, the closer black is going to get to winning, because the rook is the most powerful piece. Like, both sides have a queen, both sides have a knight, but the rook is the most powerful remaining piece. It's queen a2. And suddenly I looked at this about like an hour ago. I was like, wait a minute. You know, we have this tendency to just believe that something's always going to happen. Like the Golden State Warriors, right? They're always going to come back from 30 points down. Nordjrbek centralized his pieces and just started pushing his pawn. Now, there were moments in this game that the engine was like, black didn't play the most accurate moves and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, but here Nordjrbek just played extremely precisely. Like his rook is hanging, the bishop is hanging. Nordjrbek played rook takes d4. He sacrificed his own rook back. And then here, he didn't take on d4, but he took with check. And now this. And I was like, wait a minute. It's queen in 3 versus queen in 2. Now, obviously, black is going to try to queen, and white is going to try to queen as well. Okay? That's really what it's going to come down to. Now, black has 2 passed pawns, and white only has 1, because black has an f-pawn. What the heck is going on? Is Magnus going to save this position? Well, he's going to try h4, a4, queen a2, f5, and both players make the time control. All right? Nordjrbek has given up this pawn for this pawn, and Magnus decides to go for it. Now Nordjrbek has 1 b-pawn remaining. But here, if you count the pieces, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did you know that chess is solved with 7 pieces or less on the board? There is something called a table base, okay? Any combination of 7 pieces on the board has been mathematically solved. Literally, every possible iteration of every single possible move for both sides. It is thousands of terabytes of data, but it has been solved. 8, 9 is impossible. I mean, it'll take a century. The computer started showing, according to the table base, black is winning. Like, if these pawns trade, black only has a b-pawn, but that's a winning queen and pawn endgame. And Nordjrbek starts pushing his pawn. And the pawns trade, but this is losing. Black just walks up the board. It's important that white's king is not only cut off, like if white's king is on b1, maybe there's some chances. He's cut off, but there's also a threat of trading the queens. That's a threat because the pawn will queen. So Nordjrbek steadily and slowly walks his king up the board, avoids perpetual check, shields his king, and just b2. And Magnus resigns. This is completely insane, folks. Completely insane. Magnus just lost 2 games back-to-back for the first time since 2015. I don't know the time before that. I'm not sure it's happened more than once in his career. Magnus also just lost the same amount of games that he lost in all of 2022. Shout out to Tarjei Svensson from Norway. He's a Norwegian journalist, covers Magnus and all this good stuff. He was posting stats on Twitter. Like, Magnus doesn't lose more than 5 games max in a calendar year. Like, it just doesn't happen. He just lost 2 in a row. And Nordjrbek is up to top 20 in the world, and he's in first place with 4 out of 5. 3 wins, 2 draws. I mean, what is going on? What is going on? Now, I am not in the business of overreacting, all right, when, like, my favorite team loses or my favorite athlete loses. But I'm going to overreact right now. This is pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, I would like to remind you that we had a trade, which is I was going to show you this game, and then you weren't going to leave, because there's some pretty epic stuff after this. Go get your free chapter. I'm just saying, all right? I'm giving you, like, literally completely free. No questions asked. Anyway, now, some of you are going to leave, okay? And I would like to preemptively guilt trip you before you depart, because you are going to miss some absolutely spectacular chess. Really. I'm just warning you right now. Let's be in agreement here. Okay, just so you know. First of all, the other Masters section game was a Queen's Gambit accepted from Jordan van Foreest, and he played bishop b4, and then he played b5. Which I mean, the computer is looking at this like, bro, what chess drugs are you taking? a3, bishop a5, and a4. White has an absolutely thick center. White is going to develop both bishops and castle. I'm not really sure what you're going to do here. Now, the computer here shows something completely ridiculous. It shows c5 by black, and it shows that black is lost. Like, it's just showing that black is completely lost. There's a line here that goes queen d6. Okay. What was the line? It was like a6, take, rook a5, and queen b8. I mean, it's just like completely ridiculous lines like this. Now, I am going to assume that Jordan probably had some prep here, and my computer just doesn't see it on a low depth, and Parham just went here, which, yes, loses the knight if bishop c3, like this, but look at this position. If you trade queens, white is down a piece, but look at this army of pawns. And you're going to win this, and you're just going to push. And I mean, there's just nothing, absolutely nothing in this position except for my flower vase. I mean, just incredible stuff. If you could be any type of flower, which flower would you be? I think I would be an orchid, so I could die and be reborn like 3 times or something. Anyway, yeah, so that happens, and Parham just sacrificed the piece in the opening of this game. Jordan had to give it back, because otherwise his pieces were just in jail over here. They were just never going to get out. So take, and Parham just wins a beautiful game. Just absolutely, like, I mean, bishop d4, and then f4, and then f5, and just attacked. And Jordan made a bit of a comeback here. Little bit of a maybe overestimation of his position. But yeah, it almost seemed, and I mean, a queen sacrifice, like bishop h5. Jordan plays bishop and then tries to look at this. I love this. Is one of my favorite things about chess is when the rook gets put in jail. Now in this case, black is just losing, but it's still one of my favorite things. Bishop b6, rook b6, and now just very safely going over here. We're gonna get an endgame of queen versus rook and knight, which sometimes is a draw, but not when the queen has a lot of help. And in this position, the queen has the help of the bishop and the rook and the c-pawn. And Parham effortlessly trades off the rooks, wins the f7 pawn, and it's going to be the c-pawn, which is the deciding factor. But also, he has a bishop, and yeah, he just plays queen g5, and Jordan resigns because black's king is cut off, weak, exposed. If knight takes d5 played, you would go check, and then you would go check, and then you would win this, and then you would win this game because of the c-pawn. And also h4, h5, and so on. What a game from Parham. And I mean, I am a little perplexed by Jordan's decisions. I mean, he's just played so aggressively with black. It's like, you know, when you play with black, you have like a little bit of a... First of all, you go second, right? So, you know, you got to kind of react a little bit more. But he's trying to like swap that narrative, and he's trying to not react. He's trying to make white react, but white gets like a move already. And if black already gives up a pawn, he's basically down 2 moves. Now, I'm not coaching Jordan. Jordan would, you know, if we played 100 games, he would beat me 100 out of 100 unless he didn't show up to one of the games. Maybe I'd get a couple of draws. But yeah, I mean, it's just he's so hostile sometimes with the black pieces, and it hasn't paid off just yet. Now, so Nodirbek is winning the Masters section. This is a game from the Challengers section. Mustafa Yilmaz from Turkey played a Queen's Gambit declined, and this ultra aggro line. Like, when you play the Queen's Gambit declined, you play the put your opponent to sleep variation. You do this, and then you play rook e8, and then they go here, and they do this, and then you play, you know, knight f8, and b4, and a6, and a4, and white tries to play a Carlsbad structure, minority pawn attack, like 3 pawns versus 4. I know. Now that chess has become popularized, like anytime you say a phrase, people are going to try to take it out of context. Like, yes, when you have a minority of pawns, 3 to 4, and one of them, you know, but it's called minority attack. But now, you know, when you say that, people are like, what did he say? Anyway, this is called minority pawn attack, when you play 3 on 4 and you try to attack with the b pawn. Now you learn something. Stop turning everything into memes. But in the game, Mustafa Yilmaz played knight e4, which Looks like it loses a pawn because there's take, knight e4, which defends this. But black is going to go here. And if after knight e4 you take on e7, black actually... What the... Make the moves, you stupid board. This defends this twice. So everything is fine, okay? In the game, white played bishop f4, and Mustafa Yilmaz did not wait at all. White had this position. We got like a web of pieces. You know, white can play queen c2 and target this. Amin Tabatabai played knight a4. Yilmaz played g5. Bro, when you get hit with g5, like a pawn move in front of your king like this, and it's a good move, oh, it's bad news. It is really bad news. So we have bishop e4. Now, black does not take the bishop on f4. He plays knight takes. He replaces the knight with a knight. Now the queen and the knight both guard that. White tries to counterattack, but we have take, and just take. You take back this, but what about your knight? Knight's gotta go. Bishop slides back. Let's pause and take a moment here. What are these bozos doing? They're about to get forked. So you gotta move one of them back. And now we have king h8, and Yilmaz is about to go to town. The bishops are killers. The engine doesn't think this position is that much better for white. I got news for you. I don't care what the engine thinks. All right? Yilmaz has a rock-solid formation here. He secures his center. Tabatabai he has a reasonable position, make no mistake. But it's just a matter of time. All right? We got queen e7, bishop c7, black looking for the moment to strike. All right, now Tabatabai trying to, get big on the queen side there. a3, b4, rook's coming in. And f5 is a move that black wanted to play. White plays it. But like I said, it was just going to be a matter of time. The pieces get tangled. d5. And that was not a move that Tabatabai had to play. Like, he probably should have stayed passive. We have just pawn takes d5. And I guess he had low time here because it was before move 40. Rook d5, he gets a little desperate, but just take. And when the dust settles, black's just winning. Like, Yilmaz played well in the opening phase. Maybe he could have stepped the foot on the gas a little bit faster. Tabatabai got back in the game, but just this d5 move, just a little bit too much. He had to kind of take a moment here, be passive. Not easy to do, and he just jumps forward, and it's a KO. I mean, Yilmaz just cleans up. It's just good defense, and check. And yeah, I mean, it's, king f3 and queen d1, and we're going to trade the queens, and black is going to be up a rook. Mustafa Yilmaz just won 3 straight games. Turkey, stand up. Hello. And I got one last one for you. This is probably the most insane game of chess that I've seen in 2023, which is not saying much because it's been 2 weeks. But if you had the patience and you honored our agreement, let's go. e4. e6. If you need a friendly reminder of who these players are, Beardson's actually not a grandmaster. Oh man, Beardson, I'm very sorry. You should be a grandmaster, but you're not yet. Sorry, I just demoted your title. Well, you didn't technically never had the title. I'm just so used to putting grandmasters from Netherlands: Giri, Warmerdam, Bach, Erwin Lamy, etc. But these are actually both international masters. And Eline Rubers is, I learned how to say her name. The Dutch complained, so I learned how to say Eline Rubers. I think. Dutch folks, y'all got some crazy names. Beardson, at least I can say. So she's crushing. She beat a 2630, made a couple of draws against 2600s, and Beardson, gotta help him, plays some of the most ridiculous openings I have ever seen. I mean, I don't know how this dude does not, well, just watch. So, Beardson plays this line where black is just up a pawn, just a clean pawn, and, queen f2, and, I mean, black is just 2 pawns up. Now, it's not over if white plays aggressively and accurately, which he doesn't. And black is completely winning, okay? It is not close. All right? It ain't, at all. It's just not close. I mean, black is 2 pawns up, and black is going to go here, and that's exactly what she does. She puts the rook on c4, which is so ridiculous. What are we even looking at? Bishop e7. Look at this position. This was the position after 18 moves. Knight d4. How is there not a checkmate here? Now, by the way, if you're wondering why this knight can't be taken, because you just take and then take, and it's like mate in a few moves. Bjertsen found himself in a -6 position in 19 moves. And she took his knight. She went here, threatening this. This man has no pieces beyond the second rank. I don't care about the pawn on g5. So what do you do in a position like this? Well, you try to play defense. Bishop f5, setting up an attack, and now he finds bishop c6 check. The point is that black has to take, and then I'm going to take the bishop. Okay, all right. Now, bishop c6 check is kind of a ridiculous move. The best move here by black is to go here, and then here, it's actually to take the knight, which is kind of ridiculous, right? Like, you try to get a position like this, and the computer actually recommends that black goes to an endgame. It's just like, go to an endgame, up 3 pawns. Now, that makes sense. But when you got checkmate on your mind, you're like, well, I'm going to take with the b pawn because I want to do this and this. So he takes, she goes here, he goes there. Now there's like not much of an advantage, but this is still the best move because if takes, it's queen c2 and here, or queen d1. So rook g1, king f8, she is still completely winning. She is up 4 pawns. 4 pawns, and she's still playing rook b8, all the best move. If queen f6, rook b2, bishop b2, queen c2, ba-bang. Boom. All right, it's over. So king a1, rook f2, best move. But wait a minute, what about queen h7? Nope. Apparently, if you play king e7 in this position, it's just -3. King e7, white will go here, trying to go there, and you play rook d2. Rook d2 is gross. All right, rook d2, if bishop takes your rook, you go here, and you're just winning. Because rook d2, there's queen g1, and black is up like 96 pawns. e4 is coming, e3, bishop b2. But the complications of the position got away from her, and Eline played e2. And unfortunately, in positions that look really, really stupid, like this one, sometimes when you make a mistake like this, it's not that your advantage goes from winning to a draw. It's that your advantage goes from winning to losing, despite her being up 4, now 3 pawns. After the move e2, white is winning. Why is white winning? Because after queen g8 check and this, she gets the rook back. But this is a winning threat. Queen d8, queen c7, and suddenly she can't defend anything. A turnaround literally in one move. She was a move away from being like 2,500 win, 2,600 win, 2 draws versus high 2,600s. And in one move, not only does she not win, she loses this game because she's just losing all the pieces. c5, and he finds bishop takes c5. What is the point? Check here, mate. Oh my God. This man was down 4 pawns. This man should be arrested for theft. Credit to Bjertsen because he never thought that he would lose this game. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he was like, I thought I was going to lose the whole time. That's why I just played move. Look at this. This man committed Grand Theft Auto winning this game. But sometimes that's the way chess goes. And I feel for her because I know what it feels like to be an international master on the verge of beating grandmasters, okay? And then not doing it. Having said that, she's like 5 times better than me and she will obviously be a grandmaster. But I'm just like, oh my God, she was so close. And to lose the game from that position is heartbreaking. She was up 4 pawns. I've never seen a position where a person's been up 4 pawns and it's like not even clear. Because in chess, 2 things matter, material and king safety, right? Black's king is not safe. White's king is more safe than black's king. So crazy stuff. She loses. Thomas Bjertsen wins. What a wild game. Magnus just lost 2 games for the first time in 8 years. What is going on with Magnus? I have absolutely no idea. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out the middle game scores. Check out any other courses. They all got free samples. I'm just trying to give you guys free stuff. Like some influencers, you know, try to sell all sorts of absurd things to their subscribers. I'm literally offering you free samples, of course. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I don't know what to tell you. I will continue coverage of Tata Steel tomorrow. Get out of here.